Hi everyone! I hope you were able to get through your tasks already. See, I'm in Schoology here. We should have already done the welcome and tasks, the check-in, looked at the how to log in and use gizmos, and done the ignite, grow the biggest plant. We are on chunk parts of an experiment, and this video is also going to help you not just understand the parts of an experiment, but how to do your chew and your review in terms of how to use the gizmos and how to set it up. So I'm going to click on Chew Wet Dry Experiment. I'm going to click View Attachments. I'm going to click on Chew. This is for your chew. I'm going to click on the little arrow box thing. I'm going to click on Notability. I'm going to do Create New Note. And I'm going to call my note Wet Dry Experiment 9:30. And I'm going to put it into my Intro to Science class so it's in the right spot. And then I'm going to click Import. Alright, my file's been sent to Notability. So now I'm going to go back to the gizmo I already have open. And I already have split screen set up. And I don't want to be in Practice Science Notebook. I want to be in Science Notebook here. Wet Dry Experiment. So if you might already have split screen set up from the first one. If you don't, how you're going to do that is you're going to have just the gizmos open probably, and you're going to pull up on your screen, and then you'd click on Notability and drag it here. And that's how I ended up with both. Let me know either through email or comments on the assignment if you need a different video on how to do split screen. Okay. So I've got my gizmo set up. I've got it all messed up from last time. I'm going to go to Clear Pots. I'm also going to go to, oops, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to make this so that my pots are all the same height. And all my light bulbs are on so that they're all the same. So I've got water, same amount of water, same amount of light in each. So then first it says, for my hypothesis. So here's our question, right? The first part of any experiment is a question. And this one is, do seeds need water to grow? So then I'm going to write a hypothesis. Remember, I'm going to use if, then, because. And the hypothesis is a prediction about what I think will happen and why. So, do you think seeds need water to start growing? How much? Explain why or why not. Use if, then, because. So I'm not going to give you the answer for this. I'm going to change my question up a little bit. I'm going to pretend it's, do I think seeds need light to grow? So if I think seeds need light to grow, I'm going to say, if seeds get more light, then they will grow better because seeds need light to grow. That makes sense. Or this one, if I think seeds need water to start growing, I'm going to say, if seeds need water, or if I water my plants more, then they will grow better because seeds need water to grow. Something along those lines. It's not going to be exactly that. Okay, so that's the first part. Then the setup gizmo isn't part of your experiment, but it's part of our experiment because it's digital. Setting up the gizmo is like setting up your experiment in real life, designing your experiment. So in this case, if I'm trying to test water, it's telling me put a bean seed in each pot. So I'm going to drag my bean seeds. And remember, we only want to have one kind of seed because we're testing water. We only want to have one thing changed. And that says 2 lights on. So I'm going to turn off a light in all of these. And then one of the pots, pot A, is going to have 0 water. Pot B is going to have 50 milliliters of water, so I'm going to leave it. And pot C is going to have 100 milliliters of water. So I moved that up. So this is setting up my experiment. This is the experimental design, your procedure, your steps. Okay? And then I've got to figure out what are my variables. So what did I change? What did I change? Right? So your parts of your experiment, remember we've got our question, so far our hypothesis, our experimental setup or procedure, and to double check that our procedure is good, we're going to identify variables. Look back at Monday's assignment if you're having trouble with variables, but remember independent, things the scientist changes, dependent, what you're measuring or what's changed because of what the scientist changes, and controlled variables or constants, the things you keep the same on purpose. All right, so experiment. You're going to click play, and then you're going to go through your experiment. I'm not going to do that part, but you can click this play button right here. And then collect data. That's the next part of doing an experiment. After you've done the experiment, you've got to collect data, or sometimes you collect data during the experiment. So to collect data, you're going to go to this data tab here. And I don't have any data right now because I didn't do the experiment. And it says to fill in the data table below with the height and mass. And remember, the mass is the amount of matter, or it's how heavy it is. So I would get data right here. This is the mass data. And I can click this little thing here to switch it to height data. So this little toggle is how you're going to get both. You're going to fill those in here. Don't forget to put in how much water you put in each pot. That was from the beginning. That's up here. And then the height that you end up with, whatever it says here. And then toggle this over to get the mass. And then the appearance of the plant. So if you go back to the experiment tab, right, I didn't actually grow them, but you'd have a plant there. So maybe what it looks like, what color it is. Does it look scraggly? Does it look like it's looking good? And then draw conclusions after we've collected data. And our data is pretty simple here. Sometimes we analyze data. In this case, you're going to not super formally analyze data, but you will have graphs here to look at that are made for you. And remember, you can switch from bar graph or line graph. Bar graph is the ones with the bars. Line graph is the one where you get lines going up. And then draw conclusions. Do seeds need water to grow? Was your hypothesis correct? So depending on your data, you are going to decide, okay, was I right? Does my data show that this is true or not? So to recap our parts of an experiment, we've got our question, hypothesis, setup or procedure. We use the variables to double check to make sure that our procedure is good. Then we do our experiment. Then we collect data either during or after. We analyze our data and we draw conclusions. So this gets filled out and submitted to Notability. Submitted to Schoology. And you're going to do the same thing when you do your designing your own experiment, except instead of having it all laid out telling you what to do, you've got to make the decisions on what you're going to do. Let me know if you have any questions via email or coming to my office hours. Have a wonderful day.